as well.
Good morning, Balance Bosses. I am super excited to bring Dr. Karen Tindall of Balance Doctor here with us today. Thanks so much for being here, Karen.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Laura. This is I've been so looking forward to our chat today. So.
I know. We were chatting a little bit before we started. That's why we were giggling a little bit before we got on. And so we're going to try really hard to keep this focused on what we're chatting about, because Karen and I love to chat. If you ever need a virtual coffee date, Karen is a perfect virtual coffee date. So reach out to her. She's a good chatter.
Yeah, we don't run out of things to say.
No. Awesome. Well, the reason that I'm bringing you on today is because you have a workshop coming up May 14th. Is that correct?
Yep, that's the right date.
All right. And it's called Master the Art of Juggling. And not necessarily items in your hands, but life, right?
Yeah, exactly. When I came up with the title for this workshop, I always come up with this analogy of juggling life. And I thought, if I put out Master the Art of Juggling, people may think that I'm a dentist who has a skill of actual juggling, which I do not, and I cannot do that. But what I can do is I can help people learn how to juggle their lives. And then the bit about mastering the art of juggling is that it no longer feels like juggling when you can do it. So when you master the art of juggling, it no longer feels like juggling.
I love that, because you're so right. Whenever you master anything, it does become like just second nature. Yeah. So that is very appropriate. Awesome. And so who is this workshop aimed for? Who is it targeting? Who really could benefit from coming to this workshop?
Well, I would ask the question, are you busy? And if you're a busy person, then this is for you. It's a word that everybody uses, because I think everybody feels it so acutely of how much they are trying to do and how much they are squeezing into their days, that not only are they going to work juggling a clinical career or a demanding career, and also they've got family life and home life back at home that is also challenging and demanding, and there's lots of requests put on our time, and it's just that thing. So if you're somebody that juggles work and home and you feel like busy, hectic, sometimes life is running at a faster pace than you want it to, then this is a workshop for you.
So that pretty much really probably sums up almost everybody, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a universal thing, isn't it? Like, everybody has a lot going on. I don't think that I know anybody that would put their hand up and say, oh, hey, I'm not doing anything. I've not got anything going on. So yeah, it's a universal workshops for anybody who feels busy, because this is about, I want to help people create a positive and powerful relationship with their time. So this would work for anybody in any dental office, in any dental team, in any sort of career that you've got allied to dentistry or medicine, or even anybody away from it. It doesn't have to specifically just be linked to this group of people. So yeah, busy people are very welcome.
That's fantastic. And I love how you have a saying, what is it? Calm, confident, and in control of your time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so when you do, go ahead.
I was going to say, that is my mantra.
Yeah. So when you do feel that way, how does that benefit your life and other people in your life? What would you?
I think when you feel like that, you're not going to feel so frazzled. So running everywhere. I think pretty much, like, in terms of a career in dentistry, we look after everybody. We look after our patients, we look after our teams, we look after our families, we look after the wider community. So we are everything to everybody. but it's not very often that who are we to ourselves? So I think by feeling this calm, confident, and in control of your time and your life, you are able to then focus a little bit back of time on yourself, rather than always focusing it on everybody else. And these little bits of time to ourselves, we don't need to say, oh gosh, I need a whole weekend for me. That's not how it is. But I've got some strategies and techniques and exercises and activities that I'll be doing at the workshop that will show people how they can maximize the time that they've got. So if we think of time is a bit like a bank account, there is a set amount of money, of time in that account. The difference with time is that we can't take a loan. We can't borrow extra. We have a set number of hours in a week, and we have to use that, and only that. We can't make extra. And I think a lot of people try and make extra by losing time from sleep. That's where people will borrow. And I know you're a great advocate for sleep hygiene and good sleep and everything like that. And that's just one place that isn't a loan that's sitting there waiting to be taken. Like sleep is a priority for me.
Awesome. And what about like when we talk about busy, it's not just necessarily our physical busyness, right? But what about our mental busyness? Will this workshop help us sort out kind of, especially as women, we have a lot of mental busyness. We're handling a lot of stuff in our head for other people. Will this workshop help with that?
Yes, definitely. So I think mental load is something that as women, we have a huge mental load that we carry around. We've put ourselves in the role, and we want to be, this is the thing, we want to be the caregiver at home. We want to be the dentist. We want to be everything to everybody because that nurtures our souls, but it then weighs down, and this mental load of having to like navigate all of these things. And that's what I want to do, is I want to show people that by finding simple processes and techniques and ideas that you can implement in day-to-day life, it will not only make practically an easier day for you, but also it's going to free up some space in your mind that you're not always thinking, how am I going to do it? What's the next step? A lot of us worry we're going to forget something when there's so much going on. And I would use an analogy of a pile of plates, and that we carry this is our mental load, is a pile of plates, and it's stacked really high. And as we're carrying it day to day, we feel like we're doing this with the pile of plates just to keep it balanced, that we don't want to drop them and then they all smash. But by using some of these techniques and strategies that I'm going to share, we're going to take a few plates off that pile. So you have a pile that you can carry confidently, know that you're doing a great job with what you've got, and you're not likely to drop all these plates. So at the end of the day, you can put your pile down.
Awesome. That's a great visual. I love that visual. Thank you. That was fantastic.
That was my dad who shared this analogy with me when I was a child about a pile of plates. And it's just always stuck with me. And he would quite often say to me at different points in my life, it's the pile of plates. You're juggling this pile of plates. So that's where that's come from.
Isn't that special? I love that. And as a kid, we're always like, with what our parents say, right? And then we get older and we're like, they were really smart. That was some good advice.
They were right. I tell my girls that they'll get to that point in life where they'll realize, what she said made sense.
Right. So, workshops are maybe new to some people. Like, what is a workshop? What does this involve? So maybe you could tell me a little bit about what the workshop will look like. Like if someone's interested, what can they expect?
So I think the great thing is that using Zoom, we can all be together live. And that is really important to me, that, okay, we might not be able to get together in person, but this opens this up, that you will meet people from all over in one room on Zoom. And this is a passion of mine, is when doing a workshop, that we are actually there with other people. and you are going to get to meet those other people and interact with them, and we'll all interact together. And I think that's when the magic happens in a coaching workshop, is that by listening to other people and their experiences, and you will have the opportunity to ask them questions, and they will have the opportunity to ask you questions. And I think that's where the magic happens, is having that personal interaction. That you'll go away with not only the strategies, the tips and techniques to be able to sort of regain control of your time, but also that you're going to like come away with new friends and new connections. And then hopefully, you can then, meet up with these people. And like we said, we like do virtual coffees, and this is where like connections are made and people find support within their community. It's a bit like, your group, Laura, does the same thing. It provides a community that people are there, and people that are inherently good and want to support each other. And that's what I want to sort of help with this workshop as well, is that we'll all help each other work out how we manage our time. And there may be things that you haven't thought of, but somebody else on that screen has. And that's a really great idea, and we can all learn from each other. So that's how it would look for me, is a workshop.
That sounds, I love that. And it's so fun, especially in post-COVID, and bringing people together through Zoom has been such a wonderful thing. But the fact that we can get together in real time from all over the world, wow, right? Yeah,
that's an amazing thing to be able to do that. And you can tell from my accent, like that's my most way of communicating with my friends and family back at home, is through this like method of Zoom. And I think connections are real, like whether you're on a screen or you're not. Obviously in person is best, but in my life a lot of the time I can't have that in-person connection with people. So this for me is like second best to seeing people.
I love it. Yes. And I like the fact that the workshop is interactive. So it's not like you're just lecturing people for the entire time. It's interactive where people can share their ideas, their questions, their concerns.
Yeah. And we'll do sort of times where there'll be something for you to do. So you'll have a little bit of time to do the exercise, and you will apply it to yourself. Because what I want people to do is I want people to walk away with things that they can go and implement straight away in daily life. This isn't something that's going to be, in 6 months, this will be easy for you to do. After you've been to that workshop, you will walk away with ideas and strategies that you can say, right, as of this afternoon or as of tomorrow morning, this is going in my plan. This is how I want to do this. And that's really important, that you're going to go away with something practical to take away with you, because that's where the value is, that I want to help people make a difference in their day-to-day life, because we get swept away with life. Sometimes we're like, how did I end up like doing all of these things and not really realizing how that works? So yeah, really important that you go away with something at the end of this too.
That's fantastic. I love that, because so often you will attend a class or watch a webinar and you write down these things that you want to do, but then you don't get to them. Whereas in the workshop, if you're given that time, that's like a gift. You're given that time to create and do, so that you walk away with something done and ready to implement. Yeah,
you'll have your own personal roadmap to how you're going to now implement, like manage your time, and how you're going to value it and how you perceive that as well. Because I think there's a lot of how we perceive what we've got, what's important and what's not. So yeah, there's going to be some good thinking that people are going to have to do as well. So
awesome. Put your thinking caps on, right?
Your thinking caps on, and pen and paper with you, and you can write these good things down.
Excellent. Excellent. So I'm curious, you know, as a dentist, you were a dentist in the UK and you focused mostly in orthodontics.
Yep.
And obviously our schedule was super important to the efficiency of the day. And so you're kind of bringing this into life. How did this become a passion of yours?
So when I was at school, I was always a very good girl at school. And I was never naughty. I always abide by the rules. I was very good. But one thing that I was known for is that I was always really good at organizing my time and being efficient and could get things done and responsible. And that the time management piece of it was where people knew me for. And so there's a cartoon in England. It's a book, and it was made into a cartoon. And randomly, somebody in Hobby Lobby a couple of months ago mentioned this to me. So she must have known what it was. So it's called The Little Miss and Mr. Men. And I'll need to post an example of one of their books. I'm sure I've got one upstairs somewhere. But these little characters, each one, there was Mr. Noisy, there was Mr. Bump, who kept bumping into things. There was Little Miss Naughty and Little Miss Cheeky, and all these different, there were probably 50 of them. But at school, I got the nickname of Little Misorganized because I was always the one that you could rely on. That, number one, I knew what was going on, where we were supposed to be, how much time we had, when we needed to leave, so we'd get there. So that was the nickname that I got, was Little Misorganized. And I think that over a lifetime of being in clinical practice and being a parent and juggling family life, that I have found that time management piece, to me, that brings me calm. That if I know that I've got it all worked out, I'm calm. I know that when I haven't thought about it, that's when my brain feels frazzled. And that's how I've developed these strategies and techniques. Is these are things that I have developed myself for me, that I use on a daily basis, that make my life so much calmer and less stressed. So these are things that have just over a lifetime have worked for me, and techniques. And when I was reflecting on what would I include in the workshop, some of these things that I didn't even they didn't initially even spring to my mind as a technique, because it's just a way it's just the way I do things. So that's what I want to share is that I've picked up. And I think everybody will know that being in clinical practice, it is a juggling act. When you've got that list of patients, and you have to work through that list. And I always prided myself at the time when I was working that I didn't really run late. I just didn't allow it to happen. Obviously, there were days when things would just, when that one patient walks through the door and it's going to take you an hour and you have 10 minutes, that's going to happen. But I was somehow able to work with that and ask other people for help and support, and would juggle things around. That at the end of the day, I would still walk out of there on time.
That's really valuable. And so, basically it's not necessarily that your life was any less busy. It was that you developed tools, strategies, and ways to kind of plan things so that they worked out well, right?
Yeah, they were my sort of coping mechanisms, so to speak, of how to survive a day at work, because that's what I would find really stressful at work, would be running behind for me. And I think anybody who is a parent in dentistry would understand that not only as you're working through the day and you're seeing the patients, but when your children are little, you've got in the back of your mind, you've got to be there to pick them up at the end of the day. And I would always have that feeling on an afternoon where my heart would start to beat fast, thinking, I can't be late, I've got to be there, I've got to pick them up. And I've had, and I'm sure all of us have experienced, the look on our children's faces when we walk through the door to after school care and they're the last one.
Yes.
It's just it's a heart sink moment that would actually probably, in a way that I'm an empath, would physically cause me pain. Seeing my children being in that they're not coming to any harm. They're comfortable, they're warm, they're fed, they're playing. Right. They're not in a bad place, but somehow in my mind, it was so important to me that they were not the last one there. And I would do anything I could to be able to almost protect myself from that pain. And I think that's how these sort of strategies have just developed. as a way of saying you can get this done, you don't have to stress, you'll be there, you'll get them. And that's part of that juggling. And now as your children get older, and you know, I still juggle schedules now, even the fact that one of them drives and whatever, but my day is still focused around getting everything done up until that point where I switch over to being mum again.
Yep. And then you're juggling some stuff with that as well. There's plenty to juggle with that.
Yeah. Where are they? How are they getting there? Where are you doing? What's for dinner? How do you feed them? So there's just, it's always a juggling act. And I, you know, some of my clients who don't have children and are dentists or physicians, and they're juggling everything as well. I mean, I think this is quite often those people without children would be like looked upon like, oh, they're not busy, they don't have children. But their lives are super busy. You know, they're running their own practices. They've got their dogs at home that they run home to. They've got all the activities and responsibilities and parents and family, and everybody is busy. So it doesn't matter if you have a family back at home or you have a dog, a cat, or nobody. Yeah. Life is busy because we fill it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. You're right. You're right. We fill it, and you know, you add kids, and sometimes then things go away off your plates, or sometimes you just add, or you know, it's just it's in flux constantly, isn't it?
Yeah. And that part of that is like whenever you add something to your plate, because we have this finite time, something else will have to give. You can't just keep adding. It's like putting those plates back on the pile again.
Yep.
We're stacking it back up, that eventually something will have to give, because you can't create time from nowhere.
Right.
So that's really important to understand that.
So when someone comes to your workshop, how are you going to want them to feel when after they're attending your workshop? Like, how will they walk away? What's your goal for how they feel at the end of the workshop?
I would like them to walk away with a feeling of, I can do this. Like, it's possible for me to still have the busy life, because I can't, unfortunately, I don't have a magic wand to wave to say, a busy life disappears after you've done my workshop. I want people to feel that they've got this, that there are ways that they can help themselves feel better about everything that they're doing, and take away some of the guilt that we're maybe not doing everything that we need to, or we're forgetting something, and just it's kind of reassuring themselves that I've thought about this, I've got plans in place, and now I can go on, and like tomorrow when I start my day, I have got a different strategy of how I am going to approach my day tomorrow. And I'm going to see how that makes me feel, because I think if we can take away, it's that frenzied, frantic, busy, in the bad busy sense of the word busy, feeling that weighs down on us. And we can take that away, we feel lighter, and just you see that weight lifted off someone's shoulders. And that's what I want to do. I want to take that weight off your shoulders, put it over there.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Yes.
Going through the day without that weight.
Right. And it's so important, that feeling. Because when you feel good, you do more good. I mean, basically.
Yeah. We have to leave that weight in the Zoom room.
That's right.
Close the Zoom room, the weight stays in there. We don't take it with it.
You didn't know this was a weight loss workshop, but it is.
Virtual mental load weight loss. Yeah. Weight loss.
Fantastic. Well, as founder CEO of The Balanced Doctor, maybe you could give us just one nugget today, one time-saving tip.
Okay. My time-saving tip, I did an Instagram post on this morning, so this is the one that I will use, but it is all about writing to-do lists.
Okay.
Now, this is something else that my dad taught me as a child. When he would, so both my parents were family doctors, and when they went to work in the morning, when we were teenagers, sort of during the summer vacation, on the kitchen table, when you came down in the morning, there was a list, and it was written things with the number 2, things to do. And everything was written on the list. And when you did something off the list, you could cross it off. And it would feel so good to cross off the list. So my tip is write to-do lists. And that's the first thing that I do in my day, is to write a to-do list. So even if it's a day, it's a weekend, there is a to-do list that's written on the side. So I don't then forget those little things that aren't exciting, things that you think about whilst you're driving the car and you're like, oh, I should do that. And by the time you get home, life's so busy that you forget that little thing. So little things get written on that to-do list and then cross them off. Now, one thing I am guilty of, which isn't a bad thing because it makes me feel good, is I write things on the list that I've already done. So I've already done that. So I will write that on this and then cross it off. Because
that's a great idea.
It gives me a boost and it says, hey, that was success. Like, you did that. Put it on the list. Like, don't forget it off your list.
Right.
And the one part of this and how this would relate to when you're at work, keep a to-do list next to the computer in your office. And maybe if you're with a patient and something comes to your mind, ask your assistant to write it on your list. Or if you're thinking of it, put it on the list, because these are the little things that you might say to a patient, oh, I'll send you the information about XYZ, or, oh, remind me next time. Write it down. So then when the patient has left, you are then able to say, I will get that done.
Right.
And then that patient remembers, don't they? They say, oh, yeah, I saw Dr. Laura. And she remembered that she said she was going to ask, you know, for somebody to do something for me or whatever it is. And just little things like that. So a to-do list at home, but a to-do list in your office next to your computer so that you remember and keep track of the things at work that are your to-do list as well. This isn't the big major things. This isn't your appointment list.
Right.
This is the things that you need to remember to do. Like, I need to ask somebody to get me more of whatever it is.
Right. Those little things that can slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
Well, and then just like you say, at the end of the day, you can look back and say, wow, I really was successful today. Right.
And add those other things on. Like that for me is like, it's not cheating. It's just a way just to, you know, I know you talk about serotonin and all these happy things and all those happy hormones, and that this makes me feel happy, is writing things on the list I've already done. I'm like, oh, I've got it on my list.
That's awesome. And you're right. There's something so rewarding about crossing something off on a physical piece of paper. Just feels good.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, the list is gone. And then you start again for the next day with little things. And if you didn't get to something on your list, I would encourage you to write that at the top of the list for the next day. But don't put on things there that are unattainable in a day.
Right.
Because like, if you keep seeing that same thing on your list day after day after day, that's going to work against the happiness of crossing things off your list. You need a different list for that. And that's something that I will go into in a little bit more detail about what goes on a to-do list. But for today, the tip is little things.
Excellent. Thank you for that. That's a very good tip. I love it. All right. So I'm going to put the website here of how to sign up for your workshop. Again, it is May 14th.
Yep.
And what are the times for the?
It starts at 9 a.m. Central. So that's 10 Eastern and 7. Early morning, early bird start for the Pacific people.
Excellent. And so there is the website down below on the ticker, and I will include this also in the comments.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Where else can we find more from you?
So I like hiding on Instagram. That is my sort of favorite place to be. And that's just at Dr. Karen Balance Doctor. You can find me on Instagram there. And you can find me and you and Dr. Laura Mark on Clubhouse. We hang out there from time to time.
Yes.
So on Facebook. And I do have recently started a Facebook group called Busy Doctors Juggling Life. And I would love to have anybody in that group. That's just people like us who are busy and sharing ideas and, you know, highs, lows, whatever. Again, it's about building that sense of community, that we are better together, and together we are stronger than we are apart, and realizing that there are other people that are just doing exactly the same as we are, and we are not unusual. If we're finding it difficult, or either if we're finding it easy, we like sharing good things as well as difficult things. So yeah, that's Busy Doctors Juggling Life on Facebook.
Awesome. Fantastic. I will put the links to both of those in the show notes as well. So awesome. Well, thank you for spending some time. Thank you for juggling your life today to spend some time with us. And I encourage anybody that's busy, which is everybody, to look at this workshop. Dr. Karen is a master at this. And not only that, but I know it's going to be fun, interactive. And like you said, you'll walk away with a strategy. So
yeah. Definitely, that's it. And maybe I should learn how to actually juggle. That would be cool, wouldn't it? If I actually came into these things and
that would be cool.
I can't juggle. I'm really bad at it. But maybe that's a learning opportunity for me. So you're not going to see me juggle at the workshop.
And don't worry, you don't have to learn how to juggle during the workshop, for real. No need to bring tennis balls or anything.
Balls involved. Yeah.
Excellent. Again, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Super. Thank you very much, Laura. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Remember, everybody, you're the CEO of your life. Now become the boss of your balance and your time.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Cheers, everybody.